News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, survey of living conditions reveals Jamaica has fewer children and fewer couples than almost 10 years ago.
Finance Minister slams opposition PNP as being utterly incapable of handling the country's modern fiscal arrangements.
The opposition has zero experience managing the country in an inflation-targeting environment.
Government establishes policy to begin implementing the Electronic Transactions Act.
Jamaica Fire Brigade says further assessments to be done to determine when workers at Fusion BPO can return to the premises.
JLP Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie says political row in central Kingston is being addressed internally.
The Labour Party is bigger than any one individual. I say no more.
In news from the rest of the world, Mexico president says her country will uphold Cuban doctor agreement.
UN votes to recognize slavery as greatest crime, that should be gravest crime against humanity.
In sports, Calabar takes early lead midway on day 2 of Champs 2026 at the National Stadium.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, households are getting smaller and are increasingly made up of single individuals. That's according to the PIOJ's latest survey of living conditions. What are the societal factors driving this? Sociologist and a development scientist, Reverend Peter S. Butte, and gender development specialist Dr. Nadine Spence will tell us.
In the nation's business at 6:25, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security says over $8 billion has been dispersed under the Roofs program. This despite at least one MP claiming that residents in her constituency have yet to receive any support from the government. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. will join us.
Taking you around the world at 6:45, in a landmark ruling, Meta and YouTube have been found liable for deliberately designing addictive products that harmed a teen's mental health. You'll hear more. At 7, it's the comments section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart. This evening, they're asking, what's your reaction to the decline in the number of persons reoffending after serving prison time? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, March 25, 2026.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Jamaica has fewer children and fewer couples than we did almost 10 years ago. That's according to the latest survey of living conditions, which shows that households are getting smaller and increasingly made up of single individuals. The survey conducted by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Siobhan Campbell has been reading the document and tells us more.
Fewer children, fewer couples, and smaller families. Those are some of the findings of the Survey of Living Conditions for 2023. The survey reveals that the average household size has declined steadily since 2017, falling from 3 persons to 2.6. The reduction is being driven largely by a sharp drop in the number of children living in households. On average, households now have 0.5 children, down from 0.8 in 2017. Over the same period, the average number of adults has remained relatively stable at about 1 adult male and just over 1 adult female per household. While declining fertility is an already known factor, the survey also reveals a decline in the number of Jamaicans with spouses, coupled with a rise in single-person households. The proportion of households with a single member rose to 35.3%, up from 29% in 2017. In contrast, larger households are declining, with those containing 4 or more members falling from 33.6% to 24.4%. Male-headed households are particularly likely to consist of just one person. The survey shows that 44% of male-headed households now have only one member, an increase of 5.1 percentage points since 2017. Female-headed households also recorded a rise, with 25.5% having one member. That's up by 8.5 percentage points over the same period. An examination of household composition further highlights shifting family structures. Nearly half of both male and female-headed households had no spouse or children present. Among female-headed households, the most common arrangement after this was having at least one child but no spouse. That accounted for 37%. For male-headed households, the next most common structure was having a spouse but no children at 26%. Overall, male-headed households were far more likely to include a resident spouse, with 44% reporting a spouse in the household, compared with just 12.6% of female-headed households. On the other hand, children were more likely to be present in female-headed households. About 42% of female-headed households had at least one child, more than double the 20% recorded for male-headed households. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Siobhan. Minister of Finance Favour Williams has slammed the PNP, describing them as being utterly incapable of handling the modern fiscal arrangements of the country. She tore into opposition leader Mark Golding and his spokesman on finance Julian Robinson as she closed the budget debate on Tuesday over their proposal to draw down $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica to fund the upcoming budget. Minister Williams says the suggestion is clear evidence that the opposition has no comprehension of how the institution operates. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
As part of his budget debate presentation, Julian Robinson suggested tapping $1 billion in dividends from the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, as a means to fund the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Finance Minister Favour Williams says she found the suggestion shocking. She says the proposal shows Robinson's lack of understanding of the workings of the BOJ.
Of all the things the spokesman on finance said, the one that alarmed me the most is that he said he would take, and that was his word, he would take an additional $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, the Bank of Jamaica, by law, Mr. Lawyer, opposition leader. Yes. Determines the level of dividends that can reasonably be transferred in any year to the central government. There are strict guidelines in law. It is not advisable that the Minister of Finance calls the Bank of Jamaica and takes an additional $1 billion.
The minister says such a move would set a bad precedent and send Jamaica back to dark days.
So what happens if you need $20 billion, $100 billion, $200 billion? Would you simply take it from the Bank of Jamaica? Opposition spokesman on finance, Madam Speaker, that was what obtained in the long days ago when inflation ruled unfettered in Jamaica.
She reminded the opposition and the public the central bank was made an independent body focused on inflation management.
The Bank of Jamaica became independent on April 15, 2021. It conducts the very sensitive monetary policy free of political interference. And so, FYI, you can't just take an additional $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica, even if you think it won't compromise the institution's core function or its operational capacity. Madam Speaker, it appears the opposition spokesman on finance is telegraphing the intention of the opposition if it ever sits in the seat of government.
According to the finance minister, neither Golding nor Robinson has any knowledge of how to operate under this new regime.
Do not try to sell to Jamaicans the notion that you can simply take $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica. We've worked too hard to achieve a relatively stable inflation environment for anyone to try to undermine that very important pillar of our economy. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, come to think of it, the opposition has zero experience managing the country in an inflation targeting environment. They've never done it. So there's a thing or two, Madam Speaker, the opposition needs to learn.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Minister Williams says the exploitation of a loophole in the increased duty-free threshold is costing the government significant revenues. Minister Williams says many Jamaicans are splitting up their online purchases to avoid paying the duties.
Let me put it straight to Jamaicans. When the de minimis threshold was increased from US $50 to US $100, it was not expected that we would see splitting up of orders to avoid taxes and duties. By splitting up, I mean the instances in which if you're ordering from the same vendor, instead of making one order, you make multiple orders. Take a scenario in which you're ordering 2 items and they cost $100 each. That's a total of US $200. Packaged and shipped in one package of $200, there would be tax on the CIF. Instead, what we're seeing is a splitting of the orders to fall within the US 100 de minimis allotment.
The duty-free or the de minimis threshold was increased to $100 in 2024. It means goods brought into the country for personal use below this value would not be subject to customs duties. Minister Williams says the habit of splitting purchases up is clearly harming local retailers.
The unforeseen consequence is that no revenues flow to the Treasury. And I must add, Madam Speaker, that is quite regrettable and was simply not the intent of the de minimis policy. Again, Madam Speaker, forgive me if I'm being pedantic, but it is imperative that everyone understands what I've shared. And when I draw a reference to our local retailers, it is because they are feeling the impact of untaxed goods coming in.
That's Favour Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
The government has established an electronic signature policy in order to begin implementing the Electronic Transactions Act (ETA). This was announced by Minister with responsibility for efficiency and digital transformation, Ambassador Audrey Marks, at the post-cabinet media briefing on Wednesday.
Although the Electronic Transactions Act provides legal recognition for electronic signatures, and some MDs, ministries, departments, and agencies have started to use solutions to effect electronic transactions and signing of documents, many others continue to rely heavily on wet ink signatures and manual processes. This was because there was no unified government-wide policy to guide practices across MDAs. Today, we are providing that policy guidance and directive. The full implementation of the Act starts today.
The ETA was passed in Parliament in 2007, but it was underutilized due to a lack of framework to guide its implementation. Minister Marks says with the new policy, government documents and records that are signed electronically will no longer be subject to scrutiny.
This establishes the Government of Jamaica standard governing of the lawful, secure, and auditable use of electronic signatures. In accordance with the Electronic Transactions Act, a signature or record shall not be denied legal effect solely because it is in an electronic form. The primary objectives of the policy are to establish a standardized, risk-based framework for the use of electronic signatures, promote authentication, integrity and accountability and auditability of electronic transactions, improve efficiency, business continuity, and reduce reliance on paper-based processes.
Ambassador Audrey Marks, Minister with responsibility for efficiency and digital transformation. The Court Administration Division successfully implemented a pilot of the electronic signature policy for the digital signing of traffic tickets at the Kingston Traffic Court. As a result, the measure will be gradually implemented in courts island-wide.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
5:15. Continuing the news, The Jamaica Fire Brigade says further assessments will be done to determine when workers at Fusion BPO and Orange Street in downtown Kingston can return to the premises. A number of workers at the location, including a pregnant woman, fainted and had to be rushed to hospital Wednesday morning. It's understood that the fainting stemmed from a chemical that was sprayed in the building for cleaning. Superintendent Patrick Gooden is the brigade divisional commander for Kingston and St. Andrew.
The teams did an assessment of the premises and recognized, based on the evidence that was there, that it was unsafe for occupancy. And they advised the management that it would have been best to close down operations and allow for proper ventilation of the premises, after which a further assessment will be conducted to determine whether or not the environment is safe for occupancy again. So at this point in time, after two, that assessment has not been done as yet, because we have given a timeline of a minimum of 5 hours based on the expertise of the hazmat team.
When our news center visited the location, scores of workers were seen standing outside the location. They were reportedly told to evacuate the premises and were later sent home. Workers declined to speak with our news team out of fear of losing their jobs. According to Superintendent Gooden, affected workers experienced symptoms including fainting spells and vomiting. 2 fire units responded to the incident.
One unit from the suppression team and another team from the hazmat team responded. On their arrival at the location, they were informed that persons were reporting symptoms of fainting and nauseous smell, as well as other persons were vomiting. 5 persons were transported to the public hospital. That was done before the arrival of the brigade.
Superintendent Patrick Gooden, Divisional Commander at the Jamaica Fire Brigade for Kingston and St. Andrew.
Deputy Leader of the Jamaica Labour Party Desmond McKenzie says the row between Central Kingston MP Donovan Williams and Councillor for the Raytown Division Rosie Hamilton is being addressed internally. He was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Wednesday.
What has gone wrong under your leadership as Deputy Leader of the JLP in the Area Council?
Well, let us put it this way, Cliff. I hear you, but I'm going to say I am not prepared to speak on this issue publicly. The party is already meeting to look at the various issues. And as a Deputy Leader of the party, I am not prepared to discuss.
But you said the party is meeting on the issue, meaning what?
The party is meeting, Cliff. That is what I am prepared.
So you are part of those discussions?
The party has been meeting, Cliff, on the issue.
In a series of voice notes to a JLP WhatsApp group leaked to the public, Hamilton can be heard accusing MP Williams of serious misconduct and financial impropriety involving the use of state resources. Councillor Hamilton told the group that Williams has made false claims about giving her money to spend in the constituency. She claims that at the heart of the dispute between them is the MP's desire to push her aside in favor of a new standard bearer in the division. Hamilton says she will make it her mission to ensure the JLP loses in the seat at the next general election. Mackenzie says no individual member is bigger than the JLP, but he refused to answer any further questions posed by host Cliff Hughes regarding the matter.
The Labour Party was founded in 1943 by Sir William Alexander Bustamante. We have had Sir Alexander Bustamante as leader. We have had Sir Donald Sangster. We have had Hugh Shearer. We have had Edward Seaga. We have had Bruce Golding, and presently we have Andrew Holness. The Labour Party is bigger than any one individual. I say no more.
Are you likely to take disciplinary action against her?
I say no more, Cliff.
When will we hear from the party on this matter?
Cliff, I say no more.
It's going to take a week, 2 weeks?
Cliff, I say no more, Cliff.
Desmond McKenzie, Deputy Leader of the JLP. Lawyers for MP Williams have since sent a cease and desist letter to Councillor Hamilton, labeling her comments as false, malicious and defamatory. Hamilton is also being directed to issue a full, unequivocal public retraction and apology, which, if not done, may lead MP Williams to go as far as the Supreme Court to seek damages for defamation.
Meanwhile, the PNP says it has lodged formal complaints with the Integrity Commission, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA, and the Auditor General's Department regarding the allegations made by Councillor Hamilton. The party says the allegations spanning electoral manipulation, organized criminal activity, the abuse of ministerial office, and the systematic plunder of state resources intended for the most vulnerable demand nothing less than the full weight of the law. It says the people of Central Kingston and all Jamaicans deserve to know whether a sitting member of parliament has been using his office as a shield to commit acts that undermine the integrity of our democracy and the safety of our communities. The PNP says it is only right to place these matters before the relevant authorities and expect a swift, thorough, and a transparent investigation.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum says she will maintain the agreement with Havana to have Cuban doctors working in the country. It comes after a handful of nearby countries pulled out of such arrangements amid pressure from the United States. Mexico is one of several countries which sent humanitarian aid to Cuba. It's also become a major host for Cuban medical personnel, with thousands of doctors and specialists deployed to the country. The Bahamas, Honduras, Guatemala, Jamaica, and Guyana have announced plans to end their Cuban medical agreements. But the Cuban regime has accused the countries of caving in to pressure from Washington.
The United Nations General Assembly has voted to recognize the slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. It's a move advocates hope will pave the way for healing and justice. The resolution proposed by Ghana called for the designation, while also urging UN member states to consider apologizing for the slave trade. It also urges member states to contribute to a reparations fund. It does not mention a specific amount of money. The resolution also calls for cultural artifacts stolen during the colonial era to be returned to their countries of origin. The proposal was adopted with 123 votes in favor. The United States, Israel, and Argentina voted against it. 52 countries abstained, including the United Kingdom and European Union member states.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, survey of living conditions reveals Jamaica has fewer children and fewer couples than almost 10 years ago.
Finance Minister slams opposition PNP as being utterly incapable of handling the country's modern fiscal arrangements.
The opposition has zero experience managing the country in an inflation-targeting environment.
Government establishes policy to begin implementing the Electronic Transactions Act.
JLP Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie says political row in Central Kingston is being addressed internally.
I'm Roby-Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next. The headlines at 6.
Remember the first time, the first glance, the first touch. This Easter weekend, rediscover that feeling at Couples Resorts. Escape to a couples-only all-inclusive paradise with gourmet dine-in, premium cocktails, and unforgettable ocean views, all included. Jamaican residents can celebrate your Easter escape with exclusive rates from $405 USD per night, valid through April 30th. Visit couples.com/residents. Couples Resorts, like the first time, every time.
Every professional reaches a moment when growth calls, a promotion, a new opportunity, a bigger vision. At Mona School of Business and Management, our globally competitive graduate programs, including the internationally accredited MBA, are designed for ambitious professionals who are ready to lead. With flexible delivery options that fit your lifestyle, advancing your career is within reach. Learn from world-class faculty, connect with influential leaders, transform your future. Visit discover.msbm-uwi.org and apply online for a graduate degree. MSBM, Global Knowledge, Regional Solutions.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on athletics. Former champions Calabar, they have jumped into the early lead midway the second day of the 2026 Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships. Now on at the National Stadium. Calabar, they're on 11 points. They're 2 ahead of the defending champions Kingston College and St. Jago, both on 9. The Red Hills Road Base School bagged the crucial points in the only boys final so far at the championship, the long jump class 2, and that title went to Dane Noble of Kingston College. He cut the sand at 7 meters 18. Talshon Edwards of Calabar was second, 7 meters 02, and St. Jago's Winaldo Faulkner 6 meters 70. 9, and the Calabar also took 5th in the final via Shamar Shaw, who did 6 meters 64. The boys 100 meters semi-finals are currently underway. Well, the finals to come later on. In fact, all the semi-finals are now being completed. The Class 4 girls were first up, and Brianna Gray of Excelsior, she will take the quickest time into the final after winning her semi in 12.20 seconds, as Rhea Harris of Alpha was the standout amongst the Class 3s. She did 11.79 seconds to record the fastest time heading into the final, and the expected showdown with Daniela Clark of Edwin Allen, who was just 3/100ths of a second behind the Harris from Alpha, and Ajani Lumley of Woolmers clocked 10.85 seconds to register the fastest time out of Class 3 for the boys in the 100 semis. The girls final at the championship is still on the way. That's Class 2, and coming up in a short time will be the Class 1 girls semifinals in the 100 meters, and of course the big boys, the Class 1, all of those will be completed in another hour or so for the athletes to go get ready for the big finals coming up later on tonight, and they'll be the final event at the championship tonight. Midfielders Tyrese Hall and Andre Brooks say they're eager and ready to play their part in Jamaica's push for a place at the FIFA World Cup in the US, Mexico, and Canada this summer. Hall and Brooks are part of a trio who are getting their first call-up to the national team. All three are at the minute in Mexico with the national team, getting ready for their big showdown tomorrow night. That's on Thursday against New Caledonia in Guadalajara. Alric Swaby tells us more.
The Reggae Boys are currently in Mexico for the FIFA Interconfederation World Cup playoffs, with Tyrese Hall and Andre Brooks named in a 28-man squad for the crucial fixtures. Brooks, who plies his trade with Sheffield Wednesday in England's championship, and Hall, a Tottenham Hotspur player currently on loan at Notts County, are among the players looking to impress on the international stage. Jamaica is set to take on New Caledonia on Thursday night, with kickoff scheduled for 9 o'clock Jamaica time. The stakes are high, as the winner of that contest will advance to face Democratic Republic of the Congo 5 days later, with a coveted spot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup on the line. That tournament will be hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The Reggae Boys have been in camp since Monday, fine-tuning preparations ahead of the must-win encounter. Hall says there is a clear sense of purpose within the squad, noting that every player understands the assignment and what is required to get the job done.
I think every time I come to Jamaica, land at the airport, driving down that long route from the airport, it's hard to forget. But even the first training session, it's a good bunch of boys, so the vibes are high, spirits high, and I think we've all got the same goal in our heads, and just to qualify for the World Cup. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Hopefully I can get my debut in one of those two games. Obviously, again, it'll be a massive achievement, but at the same time, we're a group here and we're all striving towards the same thing, and that's the World Cup.
For Brooks, the opportunity carries even deeper meaning. After a 2-year wait to secure his Jamaican citizenship, he says the journey has fueled his determination to deliver strong performances and represent the country with pride.
It's been going on for quite a while, about 2 years. So to finally have it done is just a proud moment for me, honestly, my family as well, to be able to play for the Reggae Boys. We've got a plan. I mean, we've got to achieve what we need to achieve, so hopefully we can do that by the end of the camp, and yeah.
Alric Swaby reporting for Nationwide Sports.
Thank you very much, Alric, and for those watching on our YouTube page on Nationwide TV2, that other person in that picture there is Simon Preston, and he's press officer for the Jamaica Football Federation. And finally, in sports at this time, Cricket West Indies, they've blocked fast bowler Jaden Seals' move to English county side Hampshire by denying him a no objection certificate. The NOC, the 24-year-old, was set to arrive at the Utilia Bowl as a replacement for Michael Nesser, who was pulled out from joining by Cricket Australia. Seals was initially scheduled to play in the first 6 county championship games for Hampshire this season. The Trinidadian played 10 games for Sussex in 2024 and 2025, and he played 26 test matches for West Indies and 38 games in white ball cricket. Hampshire, they're hoping to sign a replacement for Seals. Of course, Seals is one of 15 contracted players to Cricket West Indies, which means in order for them to play in club and franchise crickets around the world, they've got to get permission from Cricket West Indies via the no objection certificate. As I mentioned, the 100-meter semifinals are at the moment holding center stage at the National Stadium, just about midway the second day, just more than midway the second day of the championships, and all the 100-meter finals are scheduled for tonight. They're all expected to be cracking events. Alex Swaby is going to be back at 6:05 with a major sportscast.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:33.
Upgrade your drive with Hyundai and Scotiabank. 4.99% interest, 0 fees, and 1-year insurance free. Choose from the Hyundai Venue, Palisade, Tucson, or Creta. Visit Kingston or Montego Bay showrooms. The temperature by Hyundai is
29 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 27 in the western city, Montego Bay.
TP Deco's Craft with a Difference pop-up is the place to be on Sunday, March 29 from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the lawns of Devon House. Come and buy for discounted local arts and craft, beauty and wellness, apparel, Bickle Village, prizes and surprises. Music by DJ Cash Batic with host Daindra Harrison. Admission is free. That's TP Deco's Craft with a Difference pop-up. Devon House, March 29. For more information, call 876-382-9031.
The Leadership Conference of Choice is back. Transform super managers into superior leaders at the Make Your Mark Middle Managers Leadership Conference, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online, May 6 to 7. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Visual Tech Solutions, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, CIBC Caribbean Bank, and Visual Vibe. Register now for Middle Managers Conference, May 6 to 7 at makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Gee, you know say Mike no come?
Hold on.
No, sir. That sound like consumption.
What that?
Tuberculosis, aka TB.
Now all time something like that. After nobody not get that again.
So you think TB still about?
If you have a cough for more than 2 weeks with fever, night sweats, and weight loss, go to your doctor or health center and get tested now. Let's be vigilant and stop the spread of TB infections. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Small Business Association of Jamaica invites you to a public meeting in celebration of World Sustainable Procurement Day. And guess what? Nationwide 90 FM will be there too, happening March 26 at 1 p.m. at the Exim Bank Conference Room, 85 Hope Road. Learn how small business owners can access government contracts. Hear from the Public Procurement Commission, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Gain key insights into the PPC supplier registration, procurement compliance, and the Development Bank of Jamaica financing. Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, March 26, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's World Sustainable Procurement Day. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your station locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Public Procurement Commission, your procurement partner.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. I hope all is well. It's now time for the cover story, and I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell. And today we're talking about demographics. Jamaica has fewer children and fewer couples than it did almost a decade ago. That's according to the latest survey of living conditions for 2023, which shows that households are getting smaller and increasingly made up of single individuals. The survey, conducted by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. More in this report. Fewer children, fewer couples, and smaller families. Those are some of the findings of the Survey of Living Conditions for 2023. The survey reveals that the average household size has declined steadily since 2017, falling from 3 persons to 2.6. The reduction is being driven largely by a sharp drop in the number of children living in households. On average, households now have 0.5 children, down from 0.8 in 2017. Over the same period, the average number of adults has remained relatively stable at about 1 adult male and just over 1 adult female per household. While declining fertility is an already known factor, the survey also reveals a decline in the number of Jamaicans with spouses, coupled with a rise in single-person households. The proportion of households with a single member rose to 35.3%, up from 29% in 2017. In contrast, larger households are declining, with those containing 4 or more members falling from 33.6% to 24.4%. Male-headed households are particularly likely to consist of just 1 person. The survey shows that 44% of male-headed households now have only 1 member, an increase of 5.1 percentage points since 2017. Female-headed households also recorded a rise, with 25.5% having 1 member. That's up by 8.5 percentage points over the same period. An examination of household composition further highlights shifting family structures. Nearly half of both male and female-headed households had no spouse or children present. Among female-headed households, the most common arrangement after this was having at least 1 child, but no spouse. That accounted for 37%. For male-headed households, the next most common structure was having a spouse but no children, at 26%. Overall, male-headed households were far more likely to include a resident spouse, with 44% reporting a spouse in the household, compared with just 12.6% of female-headed households. On the other hand, children were more likely to be present in female-headed households. About 42% of female-headed households had at least one child, more than double the 20% recorded for male-headed households. And to discuss this further, we're joined by sociologist and development scientist Reverend Peter Espute and gender and development specialist Dr. Nadine Spence. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Hi, good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Starting with you, Dr. Spence, the matter of the declining birth rate, the fewer children being had, not exactly new in and of itself, but it's clear now from this PIJ survey that there's a more deeper issue in terms of just the general decline in couples and families, and we seem to be shifting more toward single individual households. What do you make of that? Your reaction?
Well, it's not surprising given we know that the statistics around the number of children being born into families is declining, and that with this decline is going to be, it suggests a decline in choices that people are making around reproductive rights and around exercising their reproductive rights, and perhaps how many children they'll have as well. So, I mean, I don't think we are surprised we've been hearing it for a while, and it couldn't have just existed out in there as a reality that wouldn't have impacted Jamaican homes. So I'm not surprised at the impact at all.
And you, Peter Espute, did this come as a surprise to you in terms of not only the declining birth rate, which has been talked about much over the last few years, but this matter of, well, we're just not having any couples anymore, or people are just not getting together?
No, it's not surprising. It's the same phenomenon, you know. If you have less children, what you're talking about, household type, maybe we sociologists would call it union type. If people are not having children, if they're living together but not having children, that's one thing. But chances are, if men and women are working and set up a separate household, and they move away from their parents, set up a separate household, it used to be that people would live together as a way of sharing the expenses.
Yes.
And so you would have a man and a woman living together, but in the same household. Yes, it's a conjugal relationship, but there are no children. So if you have what they're calling a household types, you know, man, woman, no children, man, no children, woman, no children, woman, one child. This is going to be allied, connected to the declining. I don't like the word fertility. I prefer fecundity, because fertility seems to mean, in my understanding of the English language, if you are able to have children, you are fertile.
Yes.
But they are able to have children. They are fertile, but they're just not having children. So I prefer the word fecundity, which means that they are not having children. They are able to, but not having. And so this is, as Nadine says, it's people choosing their economic welfare rather than having children. It used to be that women wanted to have children, and so having children at younger ages was the thing. But now it's not. They want to have sex, but they don't want to have children, and that's what we're seeing.
But Peter Espute, even under those circumstances, then why the decline in couples specifically? Or why are people not taking on spouses, even if the end goal is not necessarily children, but just to that intimacy of getting together and sharing that household? Why is that in a decline?
Couples imply exclusive relationships, but if a man wants to have multiple women, or if a woman wants to have multiple men, then living together as a couple is not on. I mean, we know. I mean, I've known women who tell me that they have one man to pay the rent, and one man to pay the utilities, and one man to pay the groceries. So if that is the case, then they're not going to live with any one of them. you're going to set up yourself in a separate household with yourself alone, with a different men visiting. And by the same token, the usual situation where a man has many girls, many women. Again, he's not going to live necessarily with one because that is a bigger financial burden.
Interesting.
So I believe that it certainly there's less willingness to make a commitment to one person. There's still the wish to have many partners, and that I think is also shown in some other data that speaks about monogamy is not as common, is what I'm trying to say.
Understood. We're up on a break, ladies, gentlemen. Stay with us, and we continue after these messages.
Every day, Rosie has a glass of fruit drink with breakfast, an energy drink on the way to work, a flavored water with lunch, and 2 glasses of soda with dinner, which adds up to more than 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. And all that extra sugar could bring on obesity. Are we drinking ourselves sick? 71% of Jamaicans support a tax on sugary drinks. Help tackle obesity and protect our children's future. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Unlock winnings, unlock value, unlock postpaid with Digicel. Sign up for your postpaid plan now, win $1 million. When you sign up and unlock postpaid with Digicel, you can win up to $1 million and more. Just sign up or switch to postpaid, upgrade or activate an add-on in the My Digicel app. Pay your bill in full on time and you can win an iPhone 17 Pro Max every week. A bill write-off up to $10 grand, a grand prize of $1 million. Unlock winnings with Digicel. Better connected.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply. Promotion valid from February 6 to April 4.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. We're talking changing demographics, changing social realities based on the survey of living conditions by the Planning Institute of Jamaica for the year 2023. Shows the country has fewer children, not unheard of. We knew this before, but also now we hear that the country is having smaller families and fewer spousal relationships. Discussing this further, we have with the sociologist and development scientist Reverend Peter Espute and gender and development specialist Dr. Nadine Spence. Looking at how gender plays a role in this, Dr. Spence, because we see that it is the men leading in the single member household category, whereas while women have also increased, but not to the same extent. Why that gender gap?
So, the question that you asked before, and Peter answered, and he spoke about women needing to have more than one man to take care of them. I think the answer is a little bit more complex. We had this conversation some weeks ago with Herflow and some women at Mary C. Cole Hall, and we are going to have that conversation again this week, and we had it last year. One of the things that we have found in the data that we are gathering is that women are choosing to have children later because they, for the first time in human history, at least modern human history, women are getting the opportunity to educate themselves, to pursue their own ambitions, and to decide when they want to have children. Part of that also is that it's very expensive to have children. And so women are seeking to save up money to see when they will be able to afford to have children. And this is not just a Jamaican problem, it's a global problem. I'm sure, Siobhan, you're online, you see that there's a growing movement of women who are choosing to stay single.
Yes.
Because they're protecting their peace. Because you see that emerging, not just globally, but in Jamaica as well. that there are a lot of women who are, the catchphrase is, I'm choosing myself, I'm choosing my peace. I'm not interested in being in relationships that are toxic. We know that. The other thing too, Siobhan, and in the interim you played an ad about diabetes and how Jamaicans are eating. One of the things that we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago was this whole business of the health crisis in Jamaica. The health crisis is also a reproductive health crisis. We do not have enough.
Dr. Spence? Oh, there. It looks like we lost Dr. Spence. We'll try to get her back. Are you with us, Reverend Dispute?
I am, yes.
So I put that question to you, Reverend, since we until we await Dr. Spence's return. This matter of male-headed households in terms of just being a single member, particularly high comparative to the females. Why that differentiation?
It was always like that. If you go back 200 years, when even the slave household data, but the census data from 1860, 70, 80, that's always been the case. That particularly in migration situations where, for example, on sugar estates, men migrate from the hills to, say, Monmouth or Frome to work. But they leave their families at home, so back where they come from. So if you did a household check, you will find that a lot of men living alone or 3 and 4 men living together in the same house. And it's because that's migration. Similarly, people leave from the country and come to the town. It's the same sort of situation. So it's not unusual. I mean, you are going on as if single men alone is an unusual situation. It's not. Far from it.
And Dr. Spencer, I understand we have you back?
Yes, I was still here. I don't know why you weren't hearing me. So I was saying as well that the matter of this reproductive issue, of the declining birth rate issue, is also a reproductive issue that is linked to endometriosis, PCOS, and fibroids that is not being investigated enough across the nation. Because one of the things that that gynecological experts will tell you is that they're seeing an increase in the number of women who are coming. 1 in 4 women are turning up with endometriosis, or 1 in 3 with fibroids, and 1 in 10. I don't remember the statistics. I would have to go back to my notes. But really very alarming statistics. And we are not investigating those gynecological issues to see reproductive health issues to see how much that accounts for it. Also, people with diabetes and some of the other issues that are associated with lifestyle diseases are also impacting fertility in both men and women. So we have to think about the problem, I think, from a large-scale perspective. We have to think about the many factors that are impacting. You know, when we had a conversation with the young men and women 2 weeks ago, one of the things they said was, it's not that we don't want to have children, but when? When do we have children? When we need to earn enough money to ensure that when we have a child, we can afford a certain lifestyle for our children. And if we cannot afford that lifestyle, if we are going to be standing up on the roadside trying to hitch a taxi to get to the doctor or the clinic or to take our child to school, that doesn't seem very attractive. So why would you want to raise a child and have a child and raise a child in the kind of realities that are now emerging globally? So I think people are also not convinced that they want to raise children in the kind of world that we have. But as I say, it's a whole heap of different issue that we have to look at to see why, as I said, women are, nowadays it's growing movement of women saying, I choose my peace. I don't want to be in a relationship where I am going to be killed or maimed or somebody is going to kill me and then say it's my fault. These are the conversations I'm hearing emerge from the women who are around, young women who are at the age where they should be thinking through those things. And most of them are saying they're not convinced that this world as it is and this country as it is one that they want to raise children in. They're practicing choice.
And another statistic I'd like to put to you, Dr. Spence, in terms of this contrasting relationship, where in a male-headed household, if it's not a single individual, the likely relationship, according to the survey, would be that there is a spouse but no child. But in a female-headed household, the likely relationship is that there is a child but no spouse. What do you make of that differentiation?
I think where there's a household with, you say a household with a man and a woman but no child.
Yes, in a male-headed.
In a male-headed household. I mean, it's several issues you have to explore. How are they planning their family? What are some of you have to look at the age group of the male-headed household. What is the age group of those people in the household? Is it that at a certain age people are having children? Because that would be something new, certainly. Because generally we expect that people are going to, if they follow the modern conception of family, which is not necessarily the Jamaican idea of family, that they're going to get married and then settle down and have children. So if you're saying that the statistic is proving that people are not necessarily seeing marriage as the place to raise children, then that presents another issue for us to put in the pot and investigate and find out why. And then it comes the matter of women now having children and then having to bear the responsibilities of those children primarily on their own, not just the financial responsibility, but just the emotional labor that goes along with that. You see a lot of women talk about that, the fact that they have to take care of children on their own. So it doesn't surprise me that the survey would find that more households with children in them are women-headed households. That doesn't surprise me, and that's part of what is turning women off from having children. And certainly where that is the case, women are choosing not to have multiple children because they are finding it difficult to survive and they can't practice choice.
Oh, interesting way to put it, Dr. Spence. And what about you, Reverend Espute? I mean, we know the social, economic, and demographic implications of having fewer children in the country. But what about these other aspects of demographics, such as fewer family or smaller families and fewer couples? Does that have any realistic impact on society going forward? Is this a issue of concern, or is this just the trend as the trend goes?
When I was studying sociology at university in the 70s, the received wisdom was that as people become more prosperous, they have less children. It seems as if large households that is characteristic of people who have less income. So that they always said that the best contraceptive is development. Is I don't want to use the word prosperity because that could have political implications. But basically, when people are doing better, they have less children. So maybe we are, in fact, in a phase like that, where as Jamaica's GDP increases, per capita GDP increases, people are having less children. It's an economic thing rather than a social thing, if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but isn't that a strangely almost contradictory statement, whereas one of the reasons driving not having children is the economic cost, whereas we're saying why the reasons not to have a larger family is because we can survive on our own independently in terms of our economic situation. Isn't there a bit of a contradiction there?
No, having a lot of children is insurance. One of them might turn good and be able to mind you in your old age. Whereas people who are better off put a lot of resources into the few children they have so that they will also do well. This is not new theory. This is certainly 50 years old in terms of from the Beijing conference, women's conference that came out there way back in the 80s. You know, it's well known.
I mean, that is one of the narratives in the women's movement around helping women to plan how many children they will have, is that the longer a girl stays in school, the longer a woman stays in school,
Indeed.
the less likely it is that she will have children, more children than she can take care of. So I remember Jamaica, if we talk about the Jamaican situation, not just Jamaica but globally, we had a very effective family planning campaign. But it's just that we saw family planning in one way, and so we disbanded the family planning program and the family planning board. When we got to this point, I think what we need to do is to re-engage the family planning board and start to have conversations with people about family planning, because young people want to have this conversation, they do. Because what they are saying is, if we are going to have children, what is the state going to do for us? If we are going to have to send our children to schools that we are not satisfied with, and so this is going to force us to pay thousands of dollars to send children to prep schools. We want our child to swim, to do piano, to do karate, to do those other things to endear them closer to success, or to endear them to success. It's expensive. So how does the state help? Child care is expensive. Appropriate child care where you feel safe to leave your children is expensive. So who helps us to put the cost of child care? Transportation is critical to effective parenting, because we are going to school, we are going to work, our children are going to school. We don't have policies that are necessarily family-oriented. I remember going to Amsterdam.
I'm sorry, Dr. Spence, but we're over time. I really wanted to give you the opportunity to finish your point, but I'm getting the wrap-up signal.
I understand.
That's
you can tell it's something I'm very passionate about.
I very much I can see that.
I happen to be in a space with over 200 women, and trust me, this is a conversation that is being had consistently.
Yes, and I'm sure it's a conversation that we will continue to have, especially with these changing demographic situations. That's Dr. Nadine Spence. She is a gender development specialist, and we also had with us social and development scientist, Reverend Peter Esputa. Thank you both for joining us this afternoon.
Welcome. Bye
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye. Take care.
The headlines are next, listeners. Please stay with us.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Jamaica has fewer children and fewer couples than we did almost 10 years ago. That's according to the latest survey of living conditions, which shows that households are getting smaller and increasingly made up of single individuals. The survey, conducted by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The survey reveals that the average household size has declined steadily since 2017, falling from 3 persons to 2.6. The proportion of households with a single member rose to 35.3%, up from 29% in 2017. Finance Minister Favour Williams says the exploitation of a loophole in the increased duty-free threshold is costing the government significant revenues.
Let me put it straight to Jamaicans. When the de minimis threshold was increased from US $50 to US $100, it was not expected that we would see splitting up of orders to avoid taxes and duties. By splitting up, I mean the instances in which if you're ordering from the same vendor, instead of making one order, you make multiple orders. Take a scenario in which you're ordering 2 items. and they cost $100 each. That's a total of US $200. Packaged and shipped in one package of $200, there would be tax on the CIF. Instead, what we're seeing is a splitting of the orders to fall within the US 100 de minimis allotment.
The duty-free threshold was increased to $100 in 2024. It means goods brought into the country for personal use below this value would not be subject to customs duties. Minister Williams says the habit of splitting purchases up is clearly harming local retailers.
The unforeseen consequence is that no revenues flow to the Treasury. And I must add, Madam Speaker, that is quite regrettable and was simply not the intent of the de minimis policy. Again, Madam Speaker, forgive me if I'm being pedantic, but it is imperative that everyone understands what I've shared. And when I draw a reference to our local retailers, it is because they are feeling the impact of untaxed goods coming in.
Favour Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. The government has established an electronic signature policy in order to begin implementing the Electronic Transactions Act, ETA. This was announced by Minister with Responsibility for Efficiency and Digital Transformation, Ambassador Audrey Marks, at a post-cabinet media briefing on Wednesday.
Although the Electronic Transactions Act provides legal recognition for electronic signatures, and some MDs, ministries, departments, and agencies have started to use solutions to effect electronic transactions and signing of documents, many others continue to rely heavily on wet ink signatures and manual processes. This was because there was no unified government-wide policy to guide practices across MDAs. Today, we are providing that policy guidance and directive. The full implementation of the Act starts today.
The ETA was passed in Parliament in 2007, but it was underutilized due to a lack of framework to guide its implementation. Minister Marks says with the new policy, government documents and records that are signed electronically will no longer be subject to scrutiny.
This establishes the Government of Jamaica standard governing of the lawful, secure, and auditable use of electronic signatures. In accordance with the Electronic Transactions Act, a signature or record shall not be denied legal effect solely because it is in an electronic form. The primary objectives of the policy are to establish a standardized, risk-based framework for the use of electronic signatures, promote authentication, integrity and accountability and auditability of electronic transactions, improve efficiency, business continuity, and reduce reliance on paper-based processes.
Ambassador Audrey Marks, Minister with Responsibility for Efficiency. Deputy Leader of the JLP, Desmond McKenzie, says the row between Central Kingston MP Donovan Williams and Councillor for the Raytown Division, Rosalie Hamilton, is being addressed internally. He was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Wednesday.
What has gone wrong under your leadership as Deputy Leader of the JLP in the Area Council?
Well, let us put it this way, Cliff. I hear you, but I'm going to say I am not prepared to speak on this issue publicly. The party is already meeting to look at the various issues. And as a deputy leader of the party, I am not prepared to discuss.
But you said the party is meeting on the issue, meaning what?
The party is meeting, Cliff. That is what I am prepared.
So you are part of those discussions?
The party has been meeting, Cliff, on the issue.
In a series of voice notes to a JLP WhatsApp group leaked to the public, Hamilton can be heard accusing MP Williams of serious misconduct and financial impropriety involving the use of state resources. Councillor Hamilton told the group that Williams has made false claims about giving her money to spend in the constituency. Lawyers for MP Williams have since sent a cease and desist letter to Councillor Hamilton, labeling her comments as false, malicious, and defamatory. Minister McKenzie says no individual member is bigger than the JLP.
The Labour Party was founded in 1943 by Sir William Alexander Bustamante. We have had Sir Alexander Bustamante as leader. We have had Sir Donald Sangster. We have had Hugh Shearer. We have had Edward Seaga. We have had Bruce Golding, and presently we have Andrew Holness. The Labour Party is bigger than any one individual. I say no more.
Are you likely to take disciplinary action against her?
I say no more, Cliff.
When will we hear from the party on this matter?
Cliff, I say no more.
It's going to take a week, 2 weeks?
Cliff, I say no more, Cliff.
Desmond McKenzie, deputy leader of the JLP. Meanwhile, the PNP says it has lodged formal complaints with the Integrity Commission, the major organizer, the Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, and the Auditor General's Department regarding the allegations made by Councillor Hamilton. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
You could win a return on your taxes. Pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card at Tax Administration Jamaica or online for your chance to be one of 2 lucky winners of $500,000 cashback. Earn an entry for every $100,000 spent on taxes between February 27 and April 15. Plus, enjoy a 1-month payment holiday up to 55 days interest-free and unlimited reward points. Visit Sagicor.com to learn more. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
From the biggest tracks to the biggest energy, Nationwide keeps it moving. If you love the vibes, come and lock in with us for real.
World boss, leave a prison could stop me.
Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Practice. God me say you watch you of me practice.
Jamaica's largest tile selection just got even bigger. Discover what's new at Active Home Center. With our latest arrivals, it's easier than ever to make your space truly unique. Explore ocean blues, botanical greens, and soft sandy neutrals that bring a calm, effortless vibe. From bold patterns to sleek, large format tiles in glossy or matte finishes, every room makes a statement. Shop now at Active Kingston and Montego Bay. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Webby. We start with some track and field as former champions Calabar High and Clarendon College have taken the early lead on day 2 of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Champs at the National Stadium. Calabar are now on 11 points, 2 ahead of both St. Jago and defending champions Kingston College on 9 points apiece. The Red Hills Road-based institution picked up crucial points in Class 2 long jump, the only completed boys final so far at the championships. The event went to Dane Noble of Kingston College with 7.18 meters ahead of Talshawn Edwards of Calabar 7.02 and St. Jago's Winaldo Faulkner 6.79 meters. Calabar also took 5th in the final via Shamar Shah with 6.64 meters. Clarendon College leads the girls section with 9 points after Jamila Young retained her Class 2 shot put title with 14.71 meters. Samantha Wilmot of Homewood was second with 14.39 meters and third Alicia Forrester of Excelsior 14.22 meters. Homewood are second in the standings with 7 points and Excelsior third with 6. The 100 meters semifinals are coming to an end with the race favorite Riquelme Reed of Excelsior winning his Class 1 semifinals in 10.19 seconds. Azaria Harris of Alpha was the standout among Class 3. She did 11.79 seconds to record the fastest time heading into the expected showdown with Daniela Clark of Edwin Allen, who posted just 3/100th of a second behind. Ajani Lumley of Woolmers clocked 10.85 seconds to register the fastest time out of the Class 3 boys 100 meters semi-finals. Now, the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission, JADCA, in collaboration with the World Anti-Doping Agency, signed a joint declaration of intent on Wednesday to formalize plans to host the Global Anti-Doping Intelligence and Investigation Conference in Jamaica in September 2027. Speaking with Nationwide Sports, Francisco Leon, a director in the Latin American and Caribbean office at WADA, is excited about the partnership.
Implementing a project for the Americas continent on intelligence and investigations for 2026 and 2027. And in the framework of this project, we have 4 workshops in the region. One of those will be in Jamaica in 2027. It is an important moment for us because it consolidates the partnership that we have with Jamaica, and we look forward to having many countries from the Caribbean coming here alongside their national anti-doping organizations and the law enforcement.
Minister of Sports Oliver Grades says the initiative will only do more to protect local athletes.
Very important. Because we are so good at sprints and track and field, at times people would question if we are that good, if there is something else going on.
Yes.
And that is why in 2008, I pulled out all the stops to ensure that we had our anti-doping legislation in place.
Now, Executive Director at the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission, June Spence Jarrett, added that the partnership isn't a one-off.
Well, what happened is we had to audit our systems and we have to build out the organization so we fulfill the objectives of the Commission and the objectives of the World Anti-Doping Agency. And that's what we have been doing. And with my staff, we have been coming up, we have a strategic plan. From the strategic plan, we pull out our one-year operational plan. And we have the budget to support it, and we have been doing quite well with my staff.
June Spence Jarrett. Now, the footballers, midfielders Tyrese Hall and Andre Brooks say they are eager to and ready to make their mark in Jamaica's push for a place at the FIFA World Cup in the summer. Hall and Brooks are part of a trio of English-born players who were granted Jamaican passport and are now in the squad. Efron Mason Clark of Championship leaders Coventry City is the third. They are currently in Mexico for the FIFA Interconfederation World Cup playoffs, with Tyrese Hall and Andre Brooks named in a 28-man squad for the crucial fixtures. Brooks, who plies his trade with Sheffield Wednesday in England's Championship, and Hall, a Tottenham Hotspur player currently on loan at Notts County, are among the players looking to impress on the international stage. Jamaica is set to take on New Caledonia on Thursday night, with kickoff scheduled for 9 o'clock Jamaica time. The stakes are high, as the winner of that contest will advance to face Democratic Republic of the Congo 5 days later, with a coveted spot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup on the line. That tournament will be hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The Reggae Boys have been in camp since Monday, fine-tuning preparations ahead of the must-win encounter. Hall says there is a clear sense of purpose within the squad, noting that every player understands the assignment and what is required to get the job done.
I think every time I come to Jamaica, land at the airport, driving down that long route from the airport, it's hard to forget. But even the first training session, it's a good bunch of boys, so the vibes are high, spirits high, and I think we've all got the same goal in our heads, and just to qualify for the World Cup. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Hopefully I can get my debut in one of those 2 games. Obviously, again, it'll be a massive achievement, but at the same time, we're a group here and we're all striving towards the same thing, and that's the World Cup.
For Brooks, the opportunity carries even deeper meaning. After a 2-year wait to secure his Jamaican citizenship, he says the journey has fueled his determination to deliver strong performances and represent the country with pride.
It's been going for quite a while, for about 2 years. So to finally have it done is just a proud moment for me, honestly, my family as well, to be able to play for the Reggae Boys. We've got a plan. I think we've got to, obviously we've got to achieve what we need to achieve, so hopefully we can do that by the end of the camp, and yeah.
And in cricket, Cricket West Indies has blocked fast bowler Jayden Seals' move to English county side Hampshire by denying him a no objection certificate NOC. The 24-year-old was set to arrive at the Utilita Bowl as a replacement for Michael Nesser, who was pulled out from joining by Cricket Australia. Seals was initially scheduled to play in the first 6 county championship games of Hampshire's season. The Trinidadian played 10 games for Sussex in 2024 and 2025 and has played in 26 test matches and 38 games in white ball cricket for West Indies. Hampshire hoped to announce a replacement for Seals before the start of the red ball season. Seals is among the 15 senior men's players who are contracted to Cricket West Indies and must receive permission from the regional board via an NOC to ply their trade with clubs and franchises around the world. Now, Zayda James has pointed to inconsistent batting as the key factor behind the West Indies women's 3-0 T20 International Series defeat to Australia. Australia completed the clean sweep with a 40-run victory in the third and final match, decided under the Duckworth-Lewis method after rain interruptions. Across the 3 matches, the Caribbean side managed a combined total of just 329 runs, a return James believes highlights where improvements are most urgently needed.
We still need a bit of improvement. I think once everyone starts clicking, I think we are going to be unbeatable. But I think Coach Dietz has been working a lot with us, with our batting and everything else. But it's just, we have a World Cup coming up, so we just have to make a few tweaks. But looking forward to coming out and really enjoying the cricket on our own.
The young batter emphasized that while the results were disappointing, the team remains confident in its potential to rebound, particularly with a more cohesive performance at the crease. James also stressed the importance of maintaining sharpness in the field, noting that discipline and focus in all areas will be critical moving forward.
We were just a little slacked off in the second game, but I think just looking forward, fielding teams doing matches, so it's just about keeping them under pressure.
Zayda James. And finally, in basketball, Inter-Secondary School Sports Association ISA schoolboys basketball action reached an exciting climax on Wednesday as Wolmer's boys' school secured the National Under 16 title with a commanding 60-45 victory over Manchester High School. Wolmer's delivered a balanced and aggressive performance across all 4 quarters, posting scores of 16, 18, 16, and 10, while limiting Manchester to 10, 14, 7, and 14. The Kingston-based team's defensive intensity proved decisive, racking up multiple steals and converting turnovers into crucial points. Leading the charge was standout guard Alex Farquharson, who delivered a sensational all-round performance with 30 points and 10 steals. His dominance on both ends of the floor earned him Most Valuable Player honors and set the tone for Wolmer's throughout the contest. He was well supported by Michaela Richardson, who added 10 points and 7 steals, and Justin Wright, who chipped in with 10 points and 6 steals. I'm Alex Raby, and that's your sports.
Attention contractors, developers, and homeowners. Glacier White Corian Solid Surface is now at a special price. While stocks last, choose Corian for your commercial and residential projects. You won't regret it. It's durable, beautiful, and long-lasting. No sealing necessary. Corian is the #1 solid surface in the world. Second to none. Visit Home International Limited at 104 Constant Spring Road. Telephone 876-755-1970 or 876-276-6448. Open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
The heart of Jamaica moves to a beat. This year, it's the same heartbeat of community, guiding hands with the sound of resilience. To rebuild, that same slice is now wrapped in a different story for a community in need. Tasty cheese, tasty beat of Jamaica.
Buy Tasty Cheese today in store. Help rebuild Jamaica.
If you've ever called in, shared your story, or got help on this show, then you're already family. Now make it official. Join the nationwide 90FM Family Club today on Patreon.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Voyagings after dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Korean Voyagings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, a war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual. Life is short. Voyagings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Join Cliffviews Online with George Davis this Thursday, March 26 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast from the College of Agriculture, Science and Education in Portland for Research Day 2026 under the theme Advancing Resilient and Sovereign Food Systems through Research, Innovation and Disaster Risk Reduction. Meet students, researchers, industry leaders and key stakeholders as they share innovations to strengthen sustainability, food security and national resilience. Plus, explore exciting exhibitions from sponsors and partners driving Jamaica's agricultural future. Don't miss the Research Day 2026 broadcast during Cliffviews Online with George Davis, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Thursday, March 26. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2 or keep your station locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the College of Agriculture, Science and Education.
The Small Business Association of Jamaica invites you to a public meeting in celebration of World Sustainable Procurement Day. And guess what? Nationwide 90 FM will be there too, happening March 26 at 1 p.m. at the Exim Bank Conference Room, 85 Hope Road. Learn how small business owners can access government contracts. Hear from the Public Procurement Commission, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Gain key insights into the PPC supplier registration, procurement compliance, and the Development Bank of Jamaica financing. Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, March 26, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's World Sustainable Procurement Day. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your station locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Public Procurement Commission, your procurement partner.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
This is an important announcement from the National Water Commission. The National Water Commission is advising residents and motorists that pipeline installation works are now underway along Monroe Road in St. Andrew. The work is scheduled to end by April 30, 2026. Motorists should note that during the first phase of construction, there will be no vehicular access along Monroe Road from the Monroe-Wellington traffic signal to Canberra Crescent. In the second phase, along Monroe Road will be limited to Canberra Crescent from the Monroe-Wellington traffic light. Additionally, during working hours, access from Old Hope Road North to Monroe Road will be restricted, with allowances made for residents and businesses within the area. The NWC is encouraging road users to utilize alternate routes, including Wellington Drive to Mona Road, and to comply with all posted signage and directions from traffic personnel. The Commission thanks the public for their patience and cooperation as work continues to improve service delivery in the area. That was an important announcement from the National Water Commission. Welcome back, listeners, viewers. It's time for the nation's business, and I'm Siobhan Campbell. And we now turn to an update on the roofs program. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security says over $8 billion has been disbursed under the restoration of owner or occupant family shelters roofs program. This despite Member of Parliament for Western Hanover, the PNP's Heather Miller-Bennett, saying many residents in the parish devastated by Hurricane Melissa have yet to receive any support from the government. She notes that even persons assessed by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security have not benefited from the roofs program.
We are resilient people in Hanover, and so persons are putting back their lives together, but we are still waiting on government support. There is a roofs program, and many persons are still saying that they have not received the benefits. So we are awaiting, persons are still waiting on that support and that help. Persons whom I know they have been assessed, but yet still they have not received that support. So we are waiting to see the government support in a substantial way in the parish.
That's Heather Miller-Bennett. She's the Member of Parliament for Western Hanover. Well, last month, Labour and Social Security Minister Pernell Charles Jr. revealed that more than $330 million in grants have been disbursed to households in Hanover under roofs. Under the program, individuals can access between $75,000 and $500,000 in hurricane relief depending on the level of damage sustained. To date, more than 96,000 assessments have been completed island-wide, and over 6,000 of those were done in Hanover alone. Of that number, 3,600 fall within the major and severe categories. In a statement on Wednesday, the ministry says to date approximately $8.25 billion has been disbursed under the program. It says this represents a major scale-up of support to affected households across the island. According to the ministry, this latest phase includes an additional $3 billion in allocations and will see 14,000 new beneficiaries receiving assistance. Well, joining us to discuss further, the Minister of Labour and Social Security himself, Pernell Charles Jr., as well as the Country Manager for We Pay, that's Kibwe Magan. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening to you and to all of your listeners.
Good evening.
Good evening to you both. Starting with you, Minister Charles, before we get to the update on roofs itself, your response to the claims by Heather Miller-Bennett regarding members being assessed in Hanover not receiving support, is there any truth to that?
Well, it's a clever statement, because if you listen carefully, she has said that they're waiting. And the reason why Member of Parliament would have said so is because she was present at the handover where we made it very clear that this was an initial allocation and that there are several other persons in Hanover and in all of the parishes that are yet to be paid. And so therefore, this is a block of persons that were assessed and verified. We even went through the entire process to indicate that after you are assessed, you have to be verified and approved, that the list has to be cleaned by the National Spatial Data Management Branch, that there are persons who are assessed that were assessed as no damage or no significant damage who would not receive any because they're not in the minor, major, or severe, that there are persons who are assessed where they could not be approved because there is duplication, either two names to one house or two households to one name, and so therefore those things have to be investigated. So everyone will not receive at the same time. And there's some persons for which there is a reason why there's a delay. The Member of Parliament is aware of this. She was there, present, listening dutifully. And so, I want to say, again, not to attack, because perhaps she thinks this is part of her job, and it is to advocate. But when we're advocating, we have to do so responsibly so that we do not agitate persons, which is what's happening when misinformation is out there. So again, everyone who was at that ceremony was advised, and I want to tell everyone who's listening, that the payments are done in batches. There is no time that we have ever said, and we have reiterated many times, that it's not a whole nation payment at one point, at one time. So there will be other persons in Hanover that are waiting. We acknowledge that. We have even put in place a status check system now, So if you are frustrated, if you're wondering what's going on, you can call us, you can email, you can send a WhatsApp, you can check your parish office to make sure that you are being processed and to at least be advised as to why, if there is a reason, why there's a delay in you receiving your QR code or your text message.
And that was going to be my next question, Minister. The politics aside, I'm sure there are a lot of individuals who want to know if they are to receive that benefit and when. So that process is in train and they can access that information.
Yes, and if you check my social media, P. Charles Jr., the ministry's social media, MLSS Jamaica, we have put up posts that show you how you can contact us by phone, by WhatsApp message, by email, by checking the parish office. And I have even been doing consistent TikTok lives. And the only reason I'm doing that is to make myself directly available to persons so I can answer questions. And when I answer those questions on the live, it answers the questions for many of the other persons who are listening as well. So we're using every modality to make sure that the people, one, understand that we understand your frustration. Two, that they know that the ministry is doing everything we can from the start of beginning of the hurricane, before the hurricane rather, and we have been on the ground consistently to make sure that the victims get the benefits that they deserve. And three, that there is clarity in communication that we send out and also the information that we receive. So we ask the persons who are members of parliament, councillors, leaders, again, I understand that you are also energized, but I want to encourage you, speak to us, inform yourself before if you're not clear, so that your information can serve to contribute positively and not to divert or confuse persons.
Glad to hear it, Minister. Please stay with us. We're up on a brief break and we'll be right back.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:36. And we're back, listeners, viewers. We're talking the ROOS program with Minister of Labour and Social Security, Colonel Charles Jr., and the country manager for WePay, Kibwe McGann. And to you, Mr. McGann, to what role does WePay play in the ROOS program exactly?
So WePay really is here to facilitate the technology that handles how beneficiaries redeem their grants. So at present, we're the ones that provide the QR code systems so that when people go to the hardware store, they're able to redeem, whatever portion of the grant that they're supposed to pull from that hardware. So we've onboarded over 100 locations across the island. So for the first wave of text messages that went out, just about 68,000 people would have received a text message telling them what hardware they could go to collect their roofing supplies or building materials. And our system tracks that data in real time and keeps the ministry and his entire team aware as to what is going on in real time. So that's really what we pay as a technology service provider.
Understood. And in terms of interfacing with the system, have you received any complaints?
Well, when you're speaking about 68,000 people, we must understand that not all of them are necessarily from the same socio-demographic. I mean, so some of them literally just don't understand and, trying to get used to the technology. So those are some of the challenges that we anticipated. And as the minister rightfully shared, there are several modes of where people can get the information and be informed. So all of that has been put in place. If they don't understand, they can visit their parish office, they can visit our website, they can look on TikTok, so we're using every mode of communication to try and sensitize the public and make them aware.
I've actually sent it, if you don't mind, to your producer. And I've shared it, and I just want to share it live now. The phone number is 876-922-8000 to 13, 8000 to 13. The WhatsApp message number, 876-582-8972, or 876-849-8614. And we also have an email. And I've shared it so you can repeat it today, tonight, tomorrow, to let persons know. And it is also on our social media, P. Charles Jr. and MLSS Jamaica. So again, as was said by Kibwe, we recognize the frustration. We also recognize that everybody wants it at the same time, and we've said that cannot happen. So we've used two main principles. One, to prioritize severity, which means the persons who are most severely damaged must get first. And two, to target vulnerability, which means whether in the minor, major, or severe category, if somebody has a vulnerability that is unique, whether it's a disability, whether they're a senior citizen who needs help, a single mother who needs help, whatever it is, those persons are targeted, no matter what category they're in, so that they can get the support that they need. Now, it doesn't mean all, but we've made the effort based on the persons who have been able to verify that those persons come first. Those persons who are listening that will say, boy, I got assessment from November, I'm gonna hear nothing. Not to worry. Not hearing doesn't mean that you're not being valued and processed. You are. We have done more than 111,000 household assessments, more than ever been done before in the entire Caribbean. And we have valued you. It's just that we have to go through the accountability process to make sure that we can mitigate and, where possible, eliminate duplication. Where we have duplication, it means that there's less money to give to the people who deserve it. So this is why you have this elongated process, which allows us not just to be efficient, but to be accountable.
Understood. I mean, for those on YouTube, you have the visually showing there. As the minister said, for a roof status update, you can call 876-922-800-13 or WhatsApp 876-582-8972 or 876-849-8614 or email my apologies, email mlsshurricane@mlss.gov.jm for those seeking a status on their roof applications. But on the same matter of the applications, Minister, while you outlined one criteria, that being those who need it the most being prioritized first, are there any other requirements for the assessment that people may need to submit to the ministry that they've forgotten to do so, and that has essentially held up their payment or held up their grant, I should say?
Thank you for raising that, because I should have perhaps reiterated it earlier. Yes, so there are some persons, for instance, that have contacted us to say, listen, the phone number that I gave you on that form, I don't have it anymore. Either it's lost or it was stolen or we just changed it. And so those persons, again, we are calling on you, go to the parish office and let them know what the updated number is. There's also the case of some persons who had used a proxy. So, for instance, I am the owner of a household, but it's not my name that was on it, it's my daughter's name, because I was not at the house at the time that the assessment was done. In those cases, we found that we have some issues because the owner of the household either forgets or is not aware or for whatever reason didn't know that this daughter's name was on the household. So it shows one GPS location for two persons, because sometimes that person might self-report and we go and do over the assessment. That has also caused significant delay. And there are other reasons, but again, no matter what the reason is, if you believe that there is some cause for you to check with us. We will take the time to go through the process with you one by one to make sure that you understand where you are, where you stand, why you have an issue, and how to resolve it.
So, Minister, I'm getting some feedback regarding that number that we provided, that they are calling and calling, but they're not getting through. Is it that the lines have been inundated due to just the volume of people, or is there an issue?
No, exactly that. But that's why we have given many different channels. It's it's difficult for people to appreciate how many calls we're getting, which is why we have added the WhatsApp messages, which is why we've added the email, and we've added other mechanisms for you to contact us, because it is inundated. We've actually we have developed a contact center actually and increased the numbers in the contact center by double. And we've actually had persons who are going through the list, and instead of waiting for persons to call, we are calling you based on your vulnerability. So we're using every angle possible to make sure that we can communicate and be informed of the situations. Again, if you call and you don't get through, send us a WhatsApp. When we get around to it, we will call you.
So, Minister, we also had a criticism coming from Dr. Angela Brownberg regarding the Roots program. We're going to play the clip for you to listen and you can respond in kind.
Sure.
We cannot claim to be building resilience while forcing hurricane victims who have already lost everything to spend their last dollar on travel, and then only to be turned away at a single distribution point. This is a failure of compassion and a lack of understanding of the reality of everyday Jamaicans. What we are seeing is chaos in Western Jamaica. Families from St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland are making 3 and 4 trips to Montego Bay. Some are now sleeping on site just to get a voucher. There are no decentralized centers, so people are depleting their limited resources to reach a single location.
You hear that, Minister? Do you have a response to that in terms of that concern?
Yes, it sounds like Angela is reading well. So the reality is that there has been a significant magnitude of persons, some who perhaps ought not to have been going to the centers at that time, but for whom the information was shared by a friend out of parish. The reality is that we have acknowledged, based on the constructive responses from the beneficiaries who have gone and who have been either turned back or had some issue, and we have pivoted and we have implemented and adjusted and made the changes that are going to allow for us to have an expanded network that should treat with those issues that you're facing over the last week. Also, WePay, who is on, can perhaps give some more detail in terms of their operations, but we have been working with WePay to make sure that we can provide a service that is effective in terms of redemption. But we need to reiterate to persons that there are 2 phases to this. For the persons who are in the major and the severe categories, we have to remind them that it's not just cash. There's also the hardware portion of their grant. And so, many persons seem to be moving towards the cash first with the hope that they can cash everything out. That cannot be, because $75,000 is going to the rehabilitation, but the remainder must be used at the hardware. That's causing another problem as well. So we want to reiterate that issue, and then I can ask Kibwe to expand in terms of the explanation.
Understood. And yes, Mr. McGann, I'd love to bring you in there because this seems like a matter of distribution which falls into your purview.
Correct. So one of the things that the minister just shared that I'd love to reiterate is that people can only collect $75,000 at the cash location. It needs to be very clear that the cash is not running out. The proceeds are there. Another thing that we need to reiterate is if you have not received a text message telling you to go and collect cash, please do not go to the location. Other locations within your parish will be open. What is happening is a lot of community spreading. So people from as far as St. Mary, we've heard, have been traveling to go to Montego Bay to try and get the cash. It is not running out. We'll be opening locations in St. Mary and all the other parishes at that. So what Mobe for us was more like a pilot, and it was supposed to be a quiet pilot. But of course, word got out, and of course, we do understand that people are in great need, so people are making the effort to go. We're asking people not to go if you've not received that cash. If you've not received a text message, and don't worry, cash is not running out. So we've gone into phase 2. We understood the challenges from Mobe. I know it's going to be a rapid onboarding of merchants and our partners across the island who will be facilitating the cash payout. So what I want to stress, people, don't worry. The money is in place. It's not going anywhere, and you will be able to collect in your parish within the next week.
We're out of time, gentlemen, but I want to provide you, Mr. McGann, with the opportunity for those who want to be proactive. They're not necessarily wanting or willing to wait on a text message. Are they able to contact WePay to get information as to the status of their grant?
Glad that you asked that. They're actually able to go to our website. It's called the NPCJ website. That's National Payments Company of Jamaica.com. And there's an active link on that site that literally updates in real time once a location is open for cash or whether it's a new hardware, and that's the best way for people to keep contact.
Please remember also, you must be verified and approved before you can receive a text message. So many persons who are listening will say, well, I was assessed, where's my message? Some persons who were assessed are not yet verified or approved for the several reasons we discussed and other reasons. So check to see if you are in that category, because you will not receive a QR code or text message until you have been verified and approved.
That's Minister of Labour and Social Security, Pernell Charles Jr. And we also had with us Country Manager for WePay, Kibwe McGann. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us and providing us with that update. We hope all goes smoothly for you as well as the Jamaicans seeking that assistance.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
We take a brief break, listeners, and then come back with Around the World.
The Nation's Business was brought to you by the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. There's nothing sweeter than a healthy lifestyle.
This is an important announcement from the National Water Commission. The National Water Commission is advising residents and motorists that pipeline installation works are now underway along Monroe Road in St. Andrew. The work is scheduled to end by April 30, 2026. Motorists should note that during the first phase of construction, there will be no vehicular access along Monroe Road from the Monroe-Wellington traffic signal to Canberra Crescent. In the second phase, access along Monroe Road will be limited to Canberra Crescent from the Monroe-Wellington traffic light. Additionally, during working hours, access from Old Hope Road North to Monroe will be restricted, with allowances made for residents and businesses within the area. The NWC is encouraging road users to utilize alternate routes, including Wellington Drive to Mona Road, and to comply with all posted signage and directions from traffic personnel. The Commission thanks the public for their patience and cooperation as work continues to improve service delivery in the area. That was an important announcement from the National Water Commission.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hatley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Around the world, listeners, and we go to the United States, where a landmark ruling has made Meta and YouTube have been found liable for deliberately designing addictive products that harmed a teen's mental health. Los Angeles jurors found the tech companies to be both negligent and having failed to provide adequate warnings about the potential dangers of their products. The jury awarded the plaintiff in the case compensatory damages of $3 million, with Meta to pay 70% and YouTube to pay the remainder. It took nearly 9 days of deliberations for the jury to reach its verdict. This lawsuit over social media's alleged harm to young people was the first of its kind to go to trial. Over the course of the 6-week trial, jurors heard from top executives at Meta and YouTube, whistleblowers, expert witnesses on social media and addiction, and a 20-year-old woman at the center of the lawsuit who has gone by the initials KGM for court proceedings. More in this report from NBC News.
Breaking news out of Los Angeles. After 9 days of deliberations, a jury has found Meta and YouTube negligent in their design and responsible for causing harm to a teen in a landmark decision. The case centers on a 20-year-old woman's claim that her use of social media as a child addicted her to that technology. A jury agreeing, finding that both of those media giants liable, and awarding the plaintiff, who's known as KGM, $3 million in damages. The jury is now back deliberating to decide what, if any, punitive damages should also be awarded. Let's get right to NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung. NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris joins us as well. Both of them have been following this case really closely. Brian, I'll start with you. What ultimately did jurors decide here, and have we heard anything from either company, Meta Meta or YouTube.
Yeah, well, what the jury decided here is that in the case of both YouTube and Meta, that they were negligent in the way that they designed their apps, that led to harm in this particular 20-year-old individual identified as Kaylee GM, and that they didn't warn enough. And for that reason, that also harmed this particular plaintiff. As you point out, this is a landmark trial because this could open up the floodgates for the over 1,500 other cases that are working their way through the legal system, with the jury here saying, yeah, these companies are liable and they do need to pay up. You wonder if all these other cases are going to lead to the similar outcome as well. I should point out that we did get statements from both companies in just the last few hours. Meta saying, quote, they respectfully disagree with the verdict and evaluating their legal options, whereas YouTube saying outright that they disagree with the verdict and that they plan to appeal. And they add that they don't see themselves as a social media site. So you imagine that in the appeal process, that's going to come up. But again, this is starting the kind of like long legal battle that could unfold from here, but it's pretty significant. The jury, that's the top line, finding both of these companies negligent.
Yeah, it is significant, Misty. This is really a landmark case. 44 hours of deliberations before the jury came back with it. Are you surprised that it took that long? And legally speaking, what happened here?
So the jury really had a lot to grapple with because they had to treat both defendants as if it were two completely separate trials. So go through the analysis for Meta and YouTube. And as Brian pointed out, the defenses were a bit different with both. So they had to go through that verdict sheet and decide on liability. Then they had to decide on damages. And they weren't really given any guidance. They were just told by the plaintiff's attorney, if you award damages, what is the loss of a childhood worth, right? So they also had to come to a consensus on that number and then allocate that number between the two and then take that step further to decide whether punitives were appropriate under the circumstances, which they in fact did.
Yeah. Oh, they did decide on the punitive damages?
We don't know the number.
It's happening
but
right now.
We know that the jury decided that the plaintiffs had gotten to that standard of whether or not the defendants acted with malice. So this is a really, really high level by clear and convincing evidence that the plaintiffs have to prove to be eligible for punitive damages.
Okay.
And they're rare. So this is really a tremendous consequence.
It's a punishment, essentially,
Correct.
Brian, right? And we don't know what they'll do. But can we talk also about how this comes on the heels of another trial that was just decided yesterday?
Yeah, in New Mexico. And in that case, the verdict was that Meta, they were a singular defendant in that case, needed to pay $375 million in civil penalties to young teens and children in that state. Now, there were some differences between that New Mexico case and the Los Angeles case, most notably that in the New Mexico case, it was the state going after Meta, and they also alleged that there were not protections in place being provided by Instagram to stop young kids and children from being targeted by sexual predators on the app as well. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, $375 million in New Mexico, only $3 million in Los Angeles. But again, Los Angeles is about a single plaintiff.
Right.
That $375 million is just about children. And I should point out, similarly to LA, there's going to be a separate hearing. It's going to happen long time from now in May, but that's going to be final claims where there could also be punitive damages as well. So again, this is not the final number that these companies are going to have to pay. Although I should point out, these are companies with massive coffers. Yeah. And I think that's actually the argument that we're hearing right now in this punitive stage of the LA trial as the plaintiff's attorney is trying to appeal against the jury for potentially more money.
Yeah, they've got a lot of money. That's just a fact. Misty, we may be out of time. Are we out of time? I'm so sorry. I could sit here with you guys forever.
We could talk about it forever.
I know. It's so fascinating. Thank you both. Brian Chung, Misty Maris, appreciate you as always.
So there you have it, listeners. I've spoken here myself about the need for legislation and potentially frameworks about how children, particularly children, navigate the digital space, especially social media platforms, and yes, places like YouTube as well, because it does have a significant impact, particularly on the formative years of development. And it's good to see the laws and legislation itself catching up to the situation overseas. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have. And we thank our super producer, that's Dana Davey, our technical operator for the evening, Andrew the Glenn Boogs Anderson, the amazing news and production department led by the capable Cara Powell, as well as you, those on YouTube, those listening on the radio. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am Siobhan Campbell. It has been a pleasure and a privilege. Please stay tuned for the comment section with Mahiri Stewart and Shaloy Smichael. Have a good evening.
Jamaica Post is committed to being